Welcome to Canada Reads Inspired, featuring two friends who hope to inspire you to read across Canada. Rebecca is an hour from the border in Michigan, and Tara is from Ontario.
Hello and welcome to Canada Reads Inspired. I'm Tara and I'm here with Rebecca. Hello, Rebecca.
Good morning, Tara. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excellent. Thank you. We are here for our second, right? Our second episode of Rabbit Holes, in which
Yes.
we discuss the books that led us down some, not necessarily literary, but rabbit holes in terms of I read this and now I must learn more about it kind of
Yes.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. That's a really perfect way of saying it for sure.
Yeah. Before we get started and we jump in to talk about our current reads and our rabbit holes, we just wanted to share what's coming up on June 5th. So this summer, we are launching our first ever summer bingo reads card or summer bingo reads. I don't know what we
Whatever. Yeah.
exactly came up with it, but basically, it's the first summer we're doing this. We're putting out a bingo card, and instead of prompts as to different things you could do as a reader, we are each square in our bingo card will have a different book title chosen by ourselves, chosen by us, half by
Yeah.
me, half by Rebecca. What they are going to be, we're not going to tell you until
Yeah.
June 5th at 10 a.m. live on YouTube. And then we'll
Right.
share our books, the titles, and how you can join in the fun.
Yeah. And I just want to mention too that this is a kind of a giveaway because at the end of the year, I mean, at end of the summer reading season, which I think is September, like the beginning of September,
Labor
around
Day, yeah.
Labor Day, yeah, I think. Uh, if you've completed a bingo and you let us know, DM us or send a screenshot or whatever, we haven't worked out the full details yet, but you are entered in a drawing for a $50 gift card of an independent bookstore of your choice. So, and that
I
is
gotta say, that's a pretty
unaffiliated.
awesome gift.
Yeah, yeah, and it's unaffiliated with anyone else. So, I mean, it's not like it's not an Instagram thing or blah blah blah. It's completely us doing it. And so, yeah, we just thought it would be really fun to have our first annual, hopefully, and that you
Yep.
enjoy the titles that we provide to you.
I'm looking forward to it. Even though I can't participate in the bingo itself, like to win the gift
Yeah.
card. It harkens back, and you and I discussed this, to like those summer kids' days, going to the library and just doing whatever program it was that you did, read however many books. I don't know. It just, there's something really, what's not vintage, what's the word? Retro. A little bit
Yeah.
retro, a little bit, uh, I don't know,
Yeah. Well,
childhood
I'm
summers.
yeah, I'm too old to have we didn't have a summer reading program when I was a kid or anything like that in our libraries, but as a retired library director and librarian and children's librarian, I'm very familiar with summer reading programs, and there's I just think they're a lot of fun, and it doesn't require a boatload of effort in the sense of it's summertime. People, we know they're going to be on vacation or whatever, and we hope that they find fun, great reads along the way. And in our bingo card, it will include, I mean, I'm going to even include a picture book and a YA book. So it's not going to be, we're not giving you War and Peace, 12 times. You got to just
We are
look,
not.
we just look at the books, enjoy them, have a fun summer reading, enter the drawing, and maybe win $50 gift card. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What are you currently reading, Rebecca?
So I'm currently reading a book called Black Out Loud, and it's about black comedians from like vaudeville to the 90s sitcoms. And I have to tell you, I have learned so many cool little factoids, I call them, obviously, that I cannot wait to share when I'm finished it. I'm on the chapter with Richard Pryor. And then after that, it's Eddie Murphy, because I've already gone through some of the classics, which I really, really enjoyed. But I am loving this book. And I do have one major complaint about it, but I'll talk about that when a major complaint. Like I'm like upset about it. I'm reading it going like, what the fuck? And yeah, but I'll share that when I finish the book and give the full review. But I am really loving it. But the book goes from a 5 star, I already know, down to a 4 because of it.
Really? What a
Yeah,
teaser.
I know. There you go. So anyway,
Yeah. I'm
so how
I'm
about you?
very intrigued. I am reading An Evening with Birdy O'Day by Greg Kearney. So it was shortlisted, maybe longlisted. I can't remember. Anyways, let's go with longlisted for the Stephen Leacock Award 2025. So last year. And I'm just getting around. So I thought that list last year for the long list for the Stephen Leacock was fantastic. Like I think I wanted to read every book on there. So I've been working my way through. And I finally got to this one and I am really enjoying this one. So there's Birdy O'Day, but the main character is Roland. It is a coming of age story in late 60s, 70s Winnipeg. The main character is Roland, who lives with his mother, so a single mom, and he befriends Birdy in elementary school and they become best friends. And then Birdy O'Day eventually becomes a huge pop star. And it's kind of and they become estranged. Like after Birdy leaves Winnipeg, Roland, from what I understand so far, never hears from him again until it's announced that Birdy O'Day will be playing his first ever concert in Winnipeg. And at this time, the men are in their 70s or late 60s.
Wow.
So you start with with Roland finding out about the concert, and then Roland goes back in time and is sharing their story. And so the Stephen Leacock Award is for humor, and it is funny. Got to say, I love Roland's mom, Rebecca. You would love his mother. She is fantastic. The book is funny, but as I'm reading more over the last year or two of these humor books, the balance between I think it's funny your expectations when you hear a book is out for humor, your expectation is that you're going to be laughing the whole time and then it's just going to be this feel good book and you're like just going to be rolling on the
Yeah.
floor and I don't like saying that book, but
Yeah.
just like you're going to be happy. But what I'm finding is with humor books, there's happiness, or like humor, there's funniness, but there's humor that's got to be balanced by sadness or
Yeah.
darkness. Like a lot of them, it's never just one,
Yeah.
and I like it because as I'm reading this book, I mean, they're Roland and Birdy are two gay young boys in 1960s, and they know at a young age they both know. Especially Birdy knows, and he tells Roland like, "This is what you are. Like this is what we are." And it's it's not easy. It's not an easy story. There's trauma in Roland's mother's life, but the humor that they take going forward into their life, it's just, and his mom is just flippant hilarious, just the weird things that she will say. Anyways, thoroughly enjoying. I'm about 3/4 of the way through and I just want to sit down with it and just read it from and just keep going till I finish, but you know life.
Yeah.
But it's a good one. Okay, let's move on to our rabbit holes. Rebecca, what have you been reading?
So this is a book that I read a while back, and it was originally the thing I thought I'm going to save this one for rabbit holes because it was just kind of fascinating. So everybody's heard about this book a million times, but there's a reason, a really cool thing that came out of it all about a week ago. So the book I read is Poets and Pahlevans by Marcello Di Cintio, which is a amazing nonfiction account that he wrote 20 years ago about the intersection between different styles of wrestling and poetry in Iran, sort of historically. And it's really fascinating. He went to Iran a few times and just went all over the country and just had this amazing experience and wrote about it. So when I was reading it, every time he went to a new city, I literally was looking it up on my map. And then when you look it up online, of course, you see all the places of interest. And so I would look at them, I'd blow them up, and then I'd search them and I'd read about them. It was really kind of amazing. But there was one in particular that really struck me, and it is a poet named Ferdowsi. Not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but he was from the in the 10th century. He wrote this epic poem, and it is the longest epic poem created by a single person in the world. And so he's massively famous and revered in Iran and probably around the world. And the poem that he wrote is called the Shahnameh. Shahnameh. And I was really kind of fascinated by it. And Marcello even went to where his tomb. It's this beautiful, again, everything in Iran that was just amazing to read about and to see was the architecture and the landscape and the people. That book was really fabulous, and it made me. I'll never in my lifetime be able to go to Iran as an American, but I just really wish I had been able to go to see the things that he saw because it's phenomenal. And of course, unfortunately, we bombed a lot of it, so a lot of it is not in good shape at this point, which is really tragic. But here's why I'm bringing it up, because after I read it a few months ago, really fascinated by the Shahnameh, one of my friends sent me a link, and she is Persian, and it is a pop-up book of the Shahnameh. So I want to buy the book because it looks absolutely stunning. But here was the key thing. On July 22nd at the Flint Institute of Art, we are having a presentation because in the early 1500s, there was a commission to have an illustrated manuscript of the Shahnameh, and they're going to be lecturing about it. And I cannot wait. And I just think it's so wild that here I read this book by Marcello, which I want to read his backlist. So I'm reading this book about Iran. I read about this. I look at his tomb. The poem is fascinating. And then all of these connections. My friend who sent me this pop-up book of it, and then also I'm going to be able to attend a lecture to hear more about it, and I cannot wait. So I just think it's weird how going down that rabbit hole, because I think if I had just read the book and wasn't looking things up, I don't know that it would have struck me that I had read about this man in this time period in Iran and saw his tomb, etc. I don't know that I would have connected the dots if I hadn't gone down the rabbit hole. So that's my first one.
That's very cool. So now, have you read the poem in its entirety? You said it's a
No,
long
because
poem, right?
it's 50,000 couplets, and I have not, and I'm going to assume that I I don't even know what form and if you read it, if you look it up, there's a massive amount of information about it. And so I feel like the picture book will be the pop-up because it's stunningly beautiful. And I thought that might be a really fun way to start the process of looking into this story. But I mean, come on, 50,000 couplets over the course of his life. Yeah, whatever. Don't know that I'll ever. I don't even know if it's accessible in English, 50,000. I have no idea. That I don't know.
That's cool. That's cool. I do like the coming full circle, though. That is
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
Okay. So mine that I brought is called Somebody is Walking on Your Grave, My Cemetery Journeys by Mariana Enriquez, translated by Megan McDowell. So it is a nonfiction. It's nonfiction. And it is all about, so it covers from the years. I wrote this down. Look at me. I was being prepared and now I've let it go to sleep. Okay. It's a collection of essays in which Enrique visits 20 plus cemeteries all over the world. They go from 1997 to 2020. So each essay, she puts what cemetery she's visiting and the year that she visited it, because she gives you not only the story, a lot of the story and the history of the cemetery, but she is a person writing about it. So she puts her own story into that essay, right? Like one of the essays was about she went to visit the cemetery, but she went with this other young man, like a young man that she had met just on the streets. I think he was a busker, and they end up having sex in the cemetery. So like she fully puts herself into these essays. I love it when you get her own voice. It's amazing.
Yeah.
She also hates tourists and is afraid of dogs. Anyways, she seems
Isn't she a tourist though?
yes, but
Okay. I
that
just
is,
want
I
to
think that's
clarify.
part of the whole contradictory
Yeah.
part of it. Yeah. So, anyways, back to the cemeteries. So, I'm not going to list them all, but just some of the countries that she visited. There was Italy, Argentina, Australia, Louisiana. Sorry, that's not the country, the United States of America, Germany, and Scotland, just to name a few. They were all fascinating. My rabbit holes were similar to yours when you were reading the Marcello's book, in that they were mostly geographical. So as soon as she said what cemetery she was going to, I'm on my little Google Maps. I'm looking
Excellent.
up the cemetery so I can see the entrance, how the street looks around it, and it's fascinating because even some of like the really famous cemeteries, you can like I can't think of what it is, like, stretch it open. And so
Mhm.
that they'll even have like this tomb is really popular. So you can hit on that and then see that particular tomb. So I love this. I love like traveling virtually through Google
Yeah.
Maps. So
Yeah.
that was amazing. So that was the main rabbit hole that I had. But then I did also little rabbit holes into, obviously she would mention the certain monuments and statues, which would then bring you into the artist so that you could look at further statues. I did a little deep dive into Day of the Dead because she visited a cemetery in Mexico. So that was very cool, seeing some of the parades and the different traditions that went on for Day of the Dead. I think I went a couple of different ones into different people. Although the main one that I'm going to pick out today, I did a little deep dive into this French artist. Her name was Nikki de Saint Phal. See, that's my pronunciation that I was practicing beforehand, Rebecca. I'm terrible with it. But the way that I found my little deep dive into Nikki, one of the cemeteries that she visited, I can't remember where it was though, but she described that there was, and I could see it on Google Maps too. Um, One of the grave sites had this tall sculpture, about a meter and a half tall, of a cat, and it was covered in mosaics
Ooh.
with the person's name, Ricardo, written on it. And I'm like, that's beautiful and weird. And then she mentioned the artist, so I'm like, I've got to look into this. And she mentioned a taro garden that in Italy that the artist had built. Her sculptures are amazing. Most of them are like voluptuous women with a lot of mosaics and color, and they're very movement oriented. And oh, it was in Mount Parnasse. That's the cemetery. Because so the grave site that had the cat sculpture was actually Nikki de Saint Phal's assistant. So when he was buried, she had built this sculpture to as a memorial to him. So I just loved this book. It led me down like a lot of different ones, mainly geographical, but a lot of like little different people because historical people are buried all over the world. Oh, there was one which I would not have geographically. You expect like you're going to see tombs, of course, and like amazing cemeteries, beach views, because there's one cemetery that she visited off the coast of Western Australia, which is
Hmm.
the Rottnest Island Cemeteries. And it's uh, located on an island, which is off the coast of Western Australia. Stunning beach views. And it's the island itself is a tourist destination. So people go there for the beaches. So I didn't expect to see like beautiful sandy beaches and blue water when I went to look up what a cemetery looked like.
And that's amazing because you would expect the real estate would be worth millions. You would think they would not want that to be a cemetery. You know what I mean? Like they would rather develop it.
Yes, you would think, well, it has an interesting history of how it became a cemetery. Um, I'm not going to remember the details. I'll just give the basics. So it was initially, I believe there was like a residential school built on the island where Indigenous young men and adult men were sent.
Yeah.
And then when they died in the residential school, they were essentially buried in this cemetery. Uh, then, when the residential school was closed down, it was turned into a hotel for tourists. And the cemetery was actually a campground. And for several years, maybe decades, it was people just camped on the cemetery ground, not really realizing maybe I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Eventually, bones were found, and people were like, maybe this is disrespectful to be camping on an Indigenous burial site. So that's when it became officially a cemetery, no longer a campground, but it was still a tourist destination.
I think I read about that, and
Hmm.
I remember I won't mention the book yet. I'm going to look it up and see, but I think I read about that
Yeah,
because I did a deep dive into that one. So I think it's the same. I think I know about that one. That's
you
so
could.
wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. I did
Wow.
another one the when she visited Louisiana. That one was fascinating because New Orleans, like it's just creepy anyways. Like, you just have that. It has that
Yeah.
vibe to it.
Gothic vibe.
Then I did like a little exploration of Bourbon Street through Google Maps, like walking down, and she talked about even the different. Oh, there's one home that's supposedly very haunted, which was owned by Nicolas Cage at one point. He loves New
Oh,
Orleans. Anne Rice owned the same home. Now they don't know who owns it, but anyways, it's fascinating. Maybe you have to like cemeteries to like this book, and I do because
yeah.
weirdly I live across from a cemetery, so I do like cemeteries. I won't walk in it at nighttime.
Yeah.
Freaks me out. But I do like
Yeah. Yeah.
cemeteries, and I loved this book.
Was the famous one in Paris? Was that Père Lachaise? Was that one in the book as well? Because I
That the catacombs. I don't know. Let me look quickly which one it was in Paris.
No, because there is the catacombs. That's completely
Yeah,
different.
that's
But no,
complete. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, Père Lachaise. Because I went there like a million years ago, and the reason I went there was because I had been reading some stuff about Abelard and Eloise, and I thought they're buried there. So I was like, oh, that's cool. These I think I don't know 12th century people or whatever. And so
Hmm.
I wanted to go there. Well, when we got there, I got to see Oscar Wilde's tomb that was commissioned. It's stunningly beautiful. But the one that I never forgot, and there was also a Hungarian freedom fighter that was buried there as well, which I believe they eventually repatriated him back to Hungary. I think I can't remember for sure, but anyway, and I'm Hungarian, so that was one of the reasons I wanted to see that. But the one that really blew my mind was Jim Morrison is buried there, and there were young people sitting there like in tears, and I'm like, it wasn't, he's been dead for a really long time, but it just kind of struck me how much a person can engender so much emotion long after they're gone. But
Yeah.
there were like candles, burned down candles, and memorials to Jim Morrison and everything. Oh, and then the last one I remember was Richard Wright, who is this phenomenal author American Black author who went to Paris because of how bad things were here. He went to Paris and lived his life there. And he's in the like the tomb or in the where the ashes are buried, I guess. And it literally just says Richard Wright author. That's all it says on his. And I'm like, he was like this amazing author, and it's just so simple. That's all it says on his. So anyway,
No, in Paris, she went to the catacombs and the Montparnasse Cemetery.
okay,
But I feel like that one that you mentioned she did mention it in here,
yeah.
but she just did not visit it on this visit.
I agree with you. I love cemeteries too, and I visit them. I would say whenever I'm in a city where there will be historical figures, I do check them out, and I go to cemeteries as well. And I used to do photography in cemeteries, so that's really cool. So, all right, well, that was a great one. So here's the one that I ended up after I read this. I thought, oh my god, this has to be my rabbit hole. So the other one was that connection to the program that's going to be at the Art Institute, but this is the one originally I wanted to say. Yes, it's about eels. We talked about this in the last podcast. Seldom Seen Road by John Degen. I just read it, and it's a mystery where this man is murdered, and they find his body, sort of like in Lake Huron kind of area, and he has lamprey eels attached to him, right? So I'm like, oh, gee, I wonder what an lamprey eel looks like. Yeah, no, don't look. If you're anything like me, freaking do not look at it. I cannot tell you how much I am suffering because I freaking looked at it. And then last night I thought, well, let me just look up. I just want to see some text about it so I can get my text correct. And I saw the freaking image again, saw it again this morning, and it will live with me forever because when I see something that is horrific to me, I can never not see it. Because there was a thing during TikTok, during COVID, I saw something that I've never forgotten. And I even remember after I saw it, I even said to myself, how am I going to live the rest of my life with this image in my head. And I can, it's there, but it'll always be there. Same thing with lamprey eels. Now, what I learned though, a couple things. One is if you type in lamprey eel, which I don't suggest you do unless you have a really strong stomach and you don't care, then fine, look at it. But if you type in lamprey eel, what comes up, I think, is actually technically a sea lamprey, because a lamprey eel, lampreys aren't really eels. They're like, people say they're eels, but they're not really, or something. There's this whole complicated thing, but because of the images, I had a hard time reading all the text. But the bottom line is they're jawless, and they have these round mouths with concentric circles of teeth, and then they're bloodsuckers, so they attach to whatever, and then they suck the blood out. Well, that's what happened to this character. He was found in the water. When they pulled him out of the water, he had eels attached to him, these eels. And I would, because again, at the time I was just thinking like, oh, I was thinking bloodsuckers until I looked it up, and then I'm like horrified, right? And now this book will always be that image in my head when I think about this book. But what's fascinating is they're freaking in the Great Lakes. That is what I cannot believe. And that they, of course, were brought in probably through some sort of ballast. Some ship came across and brought them in. And they were really bad. It was really bad. Like, it was a really serious issue. And I think they have done better in mitigating the issue, but it ain't zero. So to me, the thought that I could be in the freaking water, which I don't go in the water, but if I did, and these things are there, oh my God. So I cannot unsee it. So you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Are they in all of the Great Lakes? Do you know? Because
I'm
I do
sorry.
swim in
I
those
know.
Great Lakes.
I know you do. For the most part, the Great Lakes are connected for the most
Yeah,
part,
yeah.
right? So I would assume that if they're in Lake Huron, they gotta be in Lake Erie and they gotta be in Lake Ontario. So I'm just saying, you would have to look that up. But see, I'm afraid to look it up. I thought if I could, is there a way you can search Google or something where you can like turn the images off so you don't see images? Because as soon as you type it in, it's like the first thing you see is that horrible, horrible picture.
Yeah.
And I just want to know more information, but I don't want to keep looking at that picture because every time I see it, it's like it's like a slap in my face. Every time I see it, I just kind of shake and go because it's so awful. So I'm going to assume they're everywhere, especially because the ships would come in. Because if they had to have come from, I don't know where they came from originally, but they had to have come in going from east to west, right?
Hmm.
Get to the Great Lakes. That's the way you got to come in. So they got to start. They had to start out in Ontario first,
Of
probably.
course they did. How long are they? Do you know how long? Did you get
No,
that?
because I couldn't get enough to the text of stuff without seeing the pictures. That's why if there's a way I could just read about it without, although I did see the lamprey eel, not the sea lampreys, which I think are the ones that are or horrible looking. But the lamprey eels, they somebody was holding one, and I don't know, they're maybe like about they look maybe like 16 inches or something like that,
Mm.
maybe I don't know. But and I don't think they. I mean, I think they're. I don't think people in general. I did see something where it said generally they won't bother people, but just the fact that they're down there with you.
Or that they'll slide along your leg. Oh my God, I would lose it.
Yeah.
Lose
So
it. Yeah.
so
No, I
anyway.
don't. I don't like eels. I don't like snakes, so I don't. I'm not going to like eels.
Oh, I like snakes, but not this thing with the round mouth. No, 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 no. With the
No.
teeth. No, 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 no. Because no. But anyway, that was my rabbit hole, and I do apologize if anybody looks it up. I mean, again, some people may be able to look at it and be like, "Yeah, what's she making a big complaint about?" It's just the problem is I'm a visual person, and so once I see something, it never leaves my. I visually
Yeah.
see it for the rest of my life, and I wish I never looked it up. That's the downside to rabbit holes.
I was going to say this is not a positive rabbit hole for you at all.
I know. So see, sometimes it backfires.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you for sharing those,
Yep.
Rebecca.
Yeah, same
Awesome.
here. Because now definitely want to read that book, and we'll link to some of these things. So if you want to look at what a lamprey eel looks like, I'll put a link. You can click on it and look at it and see what you think. So
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll put links up on what Tara talked about and some other, the Shauna May, etc. So we'll do
Yeah.
all that in the
And
notes.
if you have any literary rabbit holes that you have gone down in the last month or so, please feel free to share them. Leave them in the comments if you're watching or listening on YouTube, or send us a DM. Maybe it will lead us down further rabbit holes. And until next time, may all your reading be inspired. Thank you for listening to Canada Reads Inspired. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing wherever you listen. You can connect with the podcast and Rebecca on Instagram at Canada Reads Inspired, and with Tara at On a Branch Reads. May all your reading be inspired.